About 8 years ago, I opened my first tutorial on YouTube. I think it was the donut one. It's so great to see that Andrew is still making these. So if you are a Blender beginner, that's a great place to start. That's basically where it all started for me, and over time it led me to becoming the artist I am today. You can see that my work is scattered over many areas of interest: props, vehicles, environments. But all of them have one thing in common. They are all game-ready assets, rendered in real time in Unreal Engine. And now, after years of learning and working in the game industry, I feel like it's time to give something back to the community. So here it is, my first ever tutorial series. Together, throughout this series, we'll be making the gate that you saw at the beginning of this video. Through a series of 3 to 4 videos, we'll go through the process of modeling, texturing and rendering the gate. I will provide you with the rest of the assets, so you can make the scene look the same as mine, or better yet, make it something even more interesting. Now, if you are a complete beginner, this tutorial may not be suitable for learning the basics of Blender, Substance 3D Painter and Unreal Engine. But it will still give you an insight on how game-ready assets like this are created to be used in any game engine. To start this off, we create a cylinder. We kinda position it more upwards so that the bottom part is where the world center is. After that, we're just gonna scale it so that it looks like a log and place it towards the left part of the stones. Just around here. And I'm sure you might be wondering, where do I get the rocks? Well, I will provide you the FBX file. You can just import them into your Blender, and if you place them in the center of your world, they will fit perfectly the same as they are in my scene right here. So moving on, we created a cube. We scaled it down in edit mode to fit our needs, and we just kind of positioned it to where we wanted it. And now here's a neat little trick you can try. Grab a plane, scale it, then press Shift and tilde, that's the key before the number 1 key, and you will enter the free camera mode. Now, if you press the tab key, you will enable the gravity, and you'll be able to move around just like a player would in a game by using WASD keys. Also, fun fact, if you press the V key, you can now jump. This basically imitates how a game engine would place your player in a game, so you can size up how you want your scales of your objects to be, if they are too small, too big, or just right. Of course, this won't be perfect, but it gives you a reference point from where to start judging the scale of the object that you're creating. Moving on, we created 2 more planks by duplicating the first one and just positioning them next to each other so that we create the blockout of our planks. We are continuing just duplicating, scaling and moving the planks towards the right side. We are slanting them slightly towards the middle, and then later on we will bring them back up towards the right side. As our gate is beginning to take shape, we want to duplicate the left log and just place it on the right side so we know where we want our planks to end. You can see we are moving the planks back up in scale and just moving them more towards the right log. For now, we aren't worried too much about the spacing in between them, we're just trying to get to the right side and then we'll figure out the rest. Maybe some need more space, maybe some need less, we'll find out soon. Right now we are checking how many planks we still need to fit in here so that the gate feels fuller. There we duplicated one and just filled in the gap. And now we move everything else according to the gaps that we want between our planks. Now that that's done, we want to enter our walking mode again and just have a walk around the gate to see how our sizes feel. If everything feels good to you, feel free to continue. If not, readjust the planks, readjust their size, their thickness, their position, whatever you need to do so that it feels more natural when walking around it. Right here we duplicated our plank and rotated it 90 degrees so that it's perpendicular to the other planks. This will be used to nail our planks together and hold them in place. We're just duplicating it and placing it horizontally on the other planks. Remember, this is just a blockout phase. We don't want to worry too much about how the gate looks right now. We just want to get the sizes and the thickness right. Also, we want to get the positioning kinda so that it feels more natural or more organic. If I could go back in time and change something at this point, I will probably give a little bit more variance in the scale at the lower part of the planks. Right now you can see that they're like cut off at the same exact place everywhere at the lower parts. This doesn't feel really natural, and it would look way better if we would have some variance as we're having it at the upper part of the planks. Right here we duplicated our middle plank, scaled it a little bit wider than the others. This is going to be our door. We don't want the player to fiddle around too much trying to go through the gate. That's gonna make them feel frustrated, and frustrated is bad. We want the player to feel comfortable walking through our gate like it's a normal thing, not thinking too much about it, just going through it. You see, creating game-ready props isn't just about making them beautiful, it's about making them functional. That's the most important part, I would say. You want the player to want to interact with the asset that you created. Here we are just finishing the horizontal planks on our right side of the gate. You can see that at this stage we aren't introducing any detail to our model, we're just making the shape that we want. It's like squinting, just squint your eyes, and if it kinda looks like a gate, you're on the right path. I'm just gonna remove one plank here and expand this one to be a little larger than the others, just so that our eye has something more to get stuck on. Now it's time to give it a little bit more detail. You see, it's all about starting simple and then making it more and more complex. Right here I'm just beveling the edge loop that I created, creating another two edge loops in the middle, and just bridging the opposing faces. Whoa, you might be wondering, how the heck did you get that hole so fast? Well, let me show you. If we check our cube here in edit mode, we can see that it has inset faces on both sides of it. If we select both faces and then go into our edge tab over here, click bridge edge loops, you see it connects the edge loops and creates this cool hole in between. We can make this process even faster. If we go to our Edge tab and then right click on Bridge Edge Loops, we can assign a shortcut on our keyboard to do the exact same function. Now all we need to do is select both our faces and press that shortcut. Bridging edge loops doesn't only create holes, it can create, well, bridges. If we duplicate our cube here in edit mode, select the opposing faces, inset them a little bit, and then press the shortcut again, this will create a bridge between the faces. And there you go, you can use this to speed up your workflow and make modeling even faster. Let's go back to our gate now. You see, in the meantime, I've just moved some vertices around to create those little grooves and maybe cracks in the planks. I also use the same techniques of bridging edge loops to create other holes in other planks. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. I'm gonna repeat this process for every plank on this gate. It's gonna be tedious, so stick around. None of this is going to be complicated. We're just moving edges and vertices around to create those grooves and cracks in the planks so that they make them look more natural. You see, here I've begun to also start moving around the vertices on the lower part of the gate. This is gonna make it look a little bit more natural, not just like a straight cut on the bottom line of the planks. I am adding these edge loops by pressing Ctrl R on my keyboard in edit mode and scrolling up or down depending on how many loop cuts we want in our planks. Ctrl B is usually used to bevel the edge, but if you select an edge loop like this and press Ctrl B, you're gonna separate it and create two edge loops. Let's jump into warp speed here and speed up the process of creating the planks that you see here just a little bit. It's basically repeating the same thing over and over again, creating edge loops in the planks and then moving the vertices just by using our standard tools for modeling. Again, at this stage, don't worry about the detail too much. We are not creating any detail that's gonna be later on baked into our mesh. We are creating basic shapes and basic forms that make out the gate. Ever so often, just squint your eyes and see how the shapes feel. If it starts to look like a gate or if it starts to give you detail when squinting, that's also fine. You can think of this process as creating the outline or the basic shape of our gate. Later on, we'll bring in more detail. If you catch yourself creating bevels of any kind, you have gone too far. Remember, keep it simple. You can often see me going into wireframe mode here. That's just because I want to select something that's on the other side of the gate or on the other side of the mesh, so I don't have to rotate my camera so much. I just press Shift Z and then this gives me my wireframe mode and I can select the vertices that are on the other side of the mesh. Let us slow down the time again. I want to show you something very important here. While modeling or generally creating game-ready assets, your best friend is time. You need to be able to save time wherever you can. So right here you can see me deleting some of the planks so I can reuse the planks that we've already created. I'm just duplicating them and then just rotating them so that they aren't the same exact rotation and position as the planks that we duplicated them from. We just want a little bit variation. Using the same planks with a little bit of variation will give us completely new looking planks. Especially on an asset like this, where there is already a lot of variation going on. We won't be able to notice if a few planks are just repeating themselves. You can also just go into edit mode and move the mesh of the duplicated planks. This will also save time, but give us variation. You can create even smaller grooves by just selecting an edge loop, beveling it, and then placing another edge loop in the middle. If you now scale it down by just pressing the S key and moving your mouse, you get this little groove. Let us now go ahead and start creating some more detail on our logs here. I created a smaller loop here on the upper side by either insetting the face or extruding and scaling it inwards. We can then move this loop up and then we get this cut off part of our log, like maybe someone took an axe to it. Right here you can see me adding some additional detail to our log part here. I'm just moving some edges around to create more of this jagged feel to our edges. This is not really necessary, as later on we'll be sculpting all the edge damages, grooves and cracks in the high poly part of this tutorial series. Even though it is not necessary, it is nice to give a basic idea of where we want some cracks or edge damages to be placed on later, so you can or you don't have to follow this part. This is also a cool little trick you can do to create circles on any surface. You can see I am creating edge loops here or support loops and then just selecting the meshes that I want to be circles. Then right click and I use my circle tool to create this circle in this rectangular mesh. As you can see, it needs a little more support, so we're gonna add a few more support loops and then repeat the process again. Right click, loop tools, circle, and there you go. We just scale it down a little bit and now we can extrude it out to create where a branch was sticking out of the log before it was cut off. If you don't have loop tools, let me show you really quick how to get them. It's a free plugin for Blender, so check this out. To install loop tools, we just need to go into Edit, Preferences, and then enter Loop Tools into the search bar. By activating it here, that's all it takes for Blender to recognize it. You can close this window now. By creating edge loops on both sides of this cube, and then selecting all the faces that we want to create our circle from, just like this. And we can use C to multi-select all the faces in the middle here. And now by pressing right click, loop tools, circle, we can create this circle in the middle like this. Scaling it down gives us a little bit more space on the sides, and then extruding it in gives us this hole that's looking kinda cool. And there you go, loop tools installed, you can create circles in any rectangular surface you want. And now back to our gate. As you can see, I've sped up the process of creating these circular branches that are kinda extruding out of our logs. I've just then copied one of the logs that we've created and switched it over to the other side, just rotating it by 180 degrees so it looks like it's its own log. After that, I duplicated the horizontal planks that were on the left side of the gate to the right side of the gate and just repositioned them so that they look kinda different. Now it's time for our rope. Creating a Bezier curve, going to its geometry tab and pushing its depth a little higher, we can get more thickness into the curve. Now we're just adjusting its size in edit mode and placing it onto our gate. What we want to do here is go in between the planks and hug both planks and the log so that it looks like the rope is kind of, holding the gate in place. Using the handles that you can see here, I'm just positioning the rope so that it follows the natural shape of the wood. By scaling the joints of the curve, we can make it fit even tighter on the gate. At this point you can see that I'm kinda struggling here, just a little bit. I'm just trying to get the rope kinda to fall naturally around the wood. We don't want it to feel too tight, nor do we want it to feel too loose, or else the gate would kinda just hang on it. We want it to feel like it's holding the gate in place. Let's speed it up a little until we get something more useful to show you. Up until now, I think this is probably the most tedious part. You have to work with something that's a little bit more organic than our planks, so we have to kind of fiddle around to get it to take its shape and just work with what we've got here. So we need to kind of coil it around our planks and just repeat the process for many more ropes. This is the reality of 3D modeling. You kind of have to repeat the same process a lot of times. And although this is tedious and takes a lot of time, in the end it's totally gonna be worth it. The ropes aren't the only thing that's gonna hold our gate in place. We are also gonna add nails. But having ropes here with the nails combined is gonna give it this charismatic feel that we're looking for. So I've slowed down the time here again to show you how we're going to connect the rope again onto itself. We're just going to try to position it so that it goes into here, kind of behind itself, so that it looks like a knot. If we now extrude this point downwards, we can join these two together by just selecting two of the vertices and pressing J on the keyboard, just like combining meshes. And there we go, our rope is now connected onto itself. Realistically, this doesn't make much sense, but for our stylized gate over here, this is perfect. Having a knot at every point where the rope is connected onto itself again would be too much detail, at least in our case. We have to remember that this is just a gate and the player is just gonna pass through it. Not a lot of players are gonna just go up to the gate and stare at it, looking how the rope is connected. Realistically, they're just gonna go through the gate and possibly interact with its door. Jumping back into hyperspeed here, we're just gonna duplicate the rope from above, just gonna rescale it, reposition it on the lower part of the log and move its vertices so that it fits perfectly for the lower part. Up here, we're just gonna delete the segments that join our rope together so that we get the ends of the rope free so that we can connect them to the stones on the side. Just find a good spot in between the stones and place our rope ends in between them. Every so often we come back to our planks and just reposition them so that they feel a little bit more natural. We want them to be just a little bit crooked, so we are rotating them on both the X and Y axes so that they look a little bit more slanted. Here we just created another curve, gave it thickness and just started positioning it between the planks again. Before we continue placing our ropes, we want to create a hinge from which our gate will pivot towards the outside or the inside. So we just create a cylinder, make it a little smaller and place it in between the gate and the gate door. We adjust the ropes so that they fit a little bit more snug. We scale down the hinge a little bit so that it's a little smaller. We still want it to look like a branch, so we place loop cuts in the middle and just scale them in a little bit so that it looks a little more natural, like a branch would. We can now pull in the edges on the lower part a little bit so that the edge on the lower part looks a little broken. Get a little bit more variation going in the edge loops in the middle. And for the upper part, we just want to bevel it in a little bit so that it looks like it's been carved with a knife maybe. Just like that. If we speed up again, we can place more ropes here and place more ropes on the door so that the gate, the hinge and the door are connected with ropes. This will allow the gate to swing open using the hinge and the ropes. And finally, we will place more ropes everywhere on the gate so that they are connecting with the logs on the outside. I hope, if you're following this tutorial, that you're not just blindly redoing my steps. I hope that you're using your imagination and connecting the ropes with the planks in all kind of crazy ways. The point of this tutorial isn't as much to guide you every step of the way, it's more to show you what it takes to create an asset of this size. It's not particularly large, but it still takes a lot of steps to finish. In reality, if this tutorial wasn't this heavily edited, it would probably take hours to complete. I feel like you would learn much more from trying something on your own, by knowing the process on how to try something on your own, than to just follow every step that I make to get the result that I got. So I encourage you to make this gate your own, give something of yourself into it. And I assure you, if you do this, if you really try and try something new, you will learn something new. I hope that this video gave you something valuable. I hope you learned something. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ask anything, join our Discord where you can share your work and get more information about the upcoming tutorials and videos. And this is it. By placing the final rope here, we can see the final result of our gate blockout. It should look something like this. In the next video, we'll be going through how to sculpt beautiful detail into our gate, just like you can see here. So by the end of the next video, you'll have a gate ready to be textured. Until then, thank you all for watching and bye bye.